What's up, everybody? White Sox Daily back again as the Chicago White Sox. We've had a couple of these in a row now. It just keeps getting better and better as the Chicago White Sox clean sweep the Kansas City Royals. It is another post-victory edition here of White Sox Daily. Sound off in the comment section below. What are the vibes like? Where you guys are at? Are you starting to feel it? Are you letting yourself be a little optimistic, just a tiny little bit? Are you affording yourself that option as a Chicago White Sox fan? I know a lot of Chicago fans tend to be fairly grizzled about all of our sports teams, but are you just going to grant yourself just a tiny, itty bitty little bit of a smile today? As the White Sox are now above 500 for the first time since 2021. It is ridiculous. The Chicago White Sox now 22-21, a clean sweep of the Royals, who we have not had a winning record against in any given season since 2020, since the COVID year. The White Sox have had issues with the Royals. The White Sox have had issues with themselves, and now the Chicago White Sox are the hottest team in baseball. At the moment, they've been the second best team since mid-April. They now hold the longest winning streak actively in Major League Baseball right now. They've just swept a division rival. Before that, they took 2 out of 3 from Seattle. They're playing good baseball right now, are the Chicago White Sox. Not just, as a gimmick, not just as okay, yay, it's above expectations anymore. Now it's just legitimately good baseball. They are just actually, without any sort of tongue-in-cheek nature to it, playing well. And that is so much fun right now as the White Sox fairly convincingly, pretty well dominated the Royals in this series. Game 1 was a bit of a tense affair, and then 2 and 3, the White Sox just took it from them. The Chicago White Sox, especially here in Game 3, a chance to sweep the series, and they absolutely took advantage. Anthony Kay on the mound, who has been probably the weak link of the starting rotation to this point for Chicago, and he only gave up 2 runs. The White Sox just destroyed Kansas City. They had a monster game out of Grichuk. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Murakami walked. He scored later in the early portions of that game. The White Sox, just all around, had themselves a really nice game and a really nice series. Chase Mydroth also 2 for 3 in the ball game. Ended up batting in Acuna late for a little bit of insurance toward the end of that game. Really liked the way Tyler Davis pitched in that game as well in his appearance. Sean Newcomb came in. He ended up closing out 2 innings there at the end for the White Sox. That kind of saves a little bit of arm usage out of our pen for this really important series coming up now. And I say important, not necessarily in the sense of monstrously important towards the standings relative to any other series that might be in our own league or in our own division, but it is that time of the year, ladies and gentlemen. It is crosstown rivalry time. We've got the Cubs on the south side, 3-game series over the weekend. It should be a ton of fun, and especially because we've got a little bit of semi-history here. This is the first time that the Cubs and White Sox will meet in a regular season series, or any series for that matter, in which both teams have a winning record going in since 2008. It has been 18 years since, it's not even happened like early in the year where, any time. This is the first time that these two teams will meet since 2008, in which both teams are above 500 heading into the series. Absolutely ridiculous. But the White Sox playing an extremely hot brand of baseball. The Chicago Cubs had been hot. Obviously, then they just dropped 2 out of 3 to the Atlanta Braves, but it's the Atlanta Braves. The fact you stole 1 game from them is nigh on miracle work, to be entirely honest with you. They have been spectacular. These are 2 very good teams, both of them playing within the city limits, and it's going to be a really fun series. I like to imagine that some of the Japanese fans that came over when we signed Murakami and have been huge White Sox supporters, you're starting to hear stories all over the internet too of, some of these guys, some and gals coming over from Japan to watch the Chicago White Sox. They're coming to visit Chicago during baseball season to see Murakami in person, to see the White Sox team. And there's got to be at least a few who are going to be coming for this series and who maybe aren't entirely sure of kind of how it usually goes, who are going to go out there to watch Munetaka Murakami play, and they're going to witness a massive brawl somewhere in the right field bleachers in the middle of this thing. Not that rivalries don't exist overseas, and not that in-stadium fights don't exist overseas, but I could not resist the opportunity to think of that scenario in my brain of someone coming over here specifically to enjoy a nice, vacation destination in Chicago. And it's just in time for the Crosstown series where a bunch of Chicagoans are about to drink an abnormal amount of beer, or as a Chicagoan might normally call it, a perfectly fine amount of beer for a Tuesday afternoon, and then they're just going to start taking swings at each other because the game becomes 4-1 or something. It's going to be great, though. Two very good teams here in Chicago between the Cubs and White Sox, and here's hoping that we can take yet another series here. A win over the Cubs in this series, yes, it's fun because crosstown rivalry, whatever, but as far as an actual statement goes, and in baseball, they're not quite as, stamp it on a piece of paper and mail it in type of statements as maybe in a sport like football. But even still, if you can take this series from the Cubs, it's at least something of a statement. Something of a, okay, this might be for real now type of a turning point for the White Sox this season, where we can start not making jokes anymore, not tongue-in-cheeking it, not being giddy, but actually legitimately thinking about postseason play as White Sox fans, and I think that would be really fun indeed. Speaking of really fun, Kalshi continues to allow us to use these promo codes to help you guys out. If you head on over to Kalshi right now on their app or on their website and use our promo code FANARCHBASEBALL, as you can see it down below, you get 10 free dollars when you trade 10. You can go ahead and trade on the White Sox to win tomorrow. Right now trading at a probability of 45%. So you trade $45, you can win 100, make 55 in profit. It's an absolute steal right there, especially as hot as the White Sox have been, and especially if you're thinking that Munetaka Murakami is going to keep his streak going of hitting a home run in every series opener, it feels like, this entire season. He has been spectacular. He's hitting over 300, too, in series openers this year. There's something about that first game that just gets him amped up, I guess. But yeah, head on over to Kalshi. Use our promo code, which you can see down at the bottom of the screen. And now, back to more White Sox news. And of course, one of the big ones coming out of last night, the night that Randall Grichuk had, he has been beyond our wildest comprehension as far as what he was able to provide for this team as kind of a scrap heap pickup. The White Sox picked him up because we desperately needed bodies to throw out in the outfield, and little did we know that now he's going to be one of the more clutch power hitters in his roster in the short time he's been here. Now his third home run as a Chicago White Sox hitter. I believe he's now second still from the bottom of our at-bats standings, so still hasn't really been here all that long. He's already got the 3 home runs. 2 of them have been in monstrously clutch situations. Today, obviously, managed to get the home run that scored Murakami as well, which ended up jolting us into the lead in the bottom of the first after the Royals jumped out on top initially, 1-0. Then he ended up hitting in 2 more runs later on, as in the third inning, singled to center. Mydroth and Vargas were both able to score. He's been coming up clutch for the Chicago White Sox. It's been great to see. We hope that that continues, especially over the weekend, as the White Sox continue to try to stay hot. And a potential boost coming to the bullpen as well as our final bit of news here before we head into the weekend is the White Sox, maybe a forgotten name here, but Prelander Berruja coming back from injury, had Tommy Johns that cost him all of 2025. Now he is set to begin his rehab assignment for AAA. We hope that that goes well. Everything's going great because he actually, despite the fact that when we first traded for him 2 years ago, was struggling in AAA, he actually ended up pitching better after being called up to the White Sox across 19 appearances, just a 3.32 ERA. Does have some walk issues, which is not necessarily at any point in time my favorite thing in the world out of a pitcher. He does have wildly unhittable stuff when he's really, really on. It's obviously why the Chicago White Sox decided to take a swing on him, make the trade, bring him over from the Mariners. He was pitching really well in 2024 in those 19 games, as we just mentioned. Big strikeout type of a guy. Of course, lost all of last year, and now he's ready to start that rehab assignment again. So hopefully all goes well there, and hopefully it gives us yet another option for this bullpen, which is slowly making a big turnaround as the season continues to progress. It was a monstrous weakness early in the year. It's starting to become something of a strength now. A lot of the White Sox weaknesses from earlier in the year are slowly starting to turn around and become mild strengths, including the outfield, the bullpen, the starting rotation, all these things that we were very worried about in the first 2 weeks. The White Sox are getting key contributions in all of those areas now, and it's been great to see. But that'll do it for today's episode. If you liked the video, give us a like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, this has been White Sox Daily.